Chris Pine is back, this time with a non-stop edge of your seat thriller. And I gotta say, this is Chris Pine at his best. Let's jump into the review of his new film, The Contractor. Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the film The Contractor, which is going to be in theaters, on demand, and digital April 1st. Now, as I said, folks, this is Chris Pine at his best, this time with a non-stop edge of your seat thriller in the film The Contractor, which I just enjoyed. This was a film that, you know, it didn't reinvent the wheel, but it definitely had a lot of good elements to it. And I also think it's going to be like sneaky good, like where there may not be a lot of press and publicity around it, but I also think people should check it out because, you know, for anybody who's looking for a solid espionage thriller or action film, you know, folks who like Sicario or the Bourne franchise, any of those sorts of things, even John Wick, you know, if you liked any of those, I think this is one that you're gonna be like, yeah, that looks like my cup of tea, and I think you will be thoroughly impressed. And then there's some other elements to it too. The cast, for one, Chris Pine, Kiefer Sutherland, Ben Foster, Eddie Marsan, and my man, Big Nasty Florian, who was from Shang-Chi and from Creed. So, you know, folks that you are familiar with. And I also want to say too, when you talk about the cast here, Chris Pine and Ben Foster, this is like their third film together, and I think they just continue to make magic on screen together. They have amazing chemistry, and they really like elevate each other time after time. I really like Hell or High Water, and them being back for this, I was, you know, very intrigued on what it was going to bring new to this one. I thought they brought like a lot of emotion, and amongst other things. Now, another thing I liked about this film too is with the solid action, I felt like the action was really practical, or realistic, shall I say, even if it wasn't practical effects. You always know with sometimes with action films that it starts to get so wonky and so unbelievable, and then they just decide to just like forget that physics is even a real thing or whatnot. I felt like a lot of what was done with the action in this one was very practical, and thus I just enjoyed it. Even before you even get into the plot and all that other stuff, the action just immediately jumps out at you to saying like, yeah, this feels realistic, this feels believable, you know, instead of having to worry about, you know, that not being realistic and then potential plot holes and whatnot. I just feel like across the board this one just worked really well. But let's actually get into what this one is about. Now, Chris Pine, he plays Special Forces Sergeant James Harper. He's definitely down on his luck. He has recently just been honorably discharged, and with that, he has been cut off from his pension, which is bad because he has a family to still support. And this kind of came out of nowhere. You know, he was already having troubles, but you know, with that, with some family issues that's going on now, with financial issues going on, I mean, this is literally kicking a man while he's down. And like, you have to think about it. He served his country, blood, sweat, and tears, and this is how they do him. So like, there's obviously some resentment, but also a point of his life now where he doesn't know where does he go beyond this. This is probably one of the first times in his life where he starts to feel like he doesn't have the answers, and what does he have to do in order to support his family. You know, he done served his country for all these years, and you know, some technicality that was really unfortunate at that, you know, landed him into being honorably discharged. As they said, they're cleaning house, and he was a casualty to it, and now, you know, his family must suffer because he's not able to bring in the money he once was able to. But with that being said, he's also presented a special, unique opportunity, and this opportunity is unique to him because of his skill set. And of course, there's a little bit of, you know, let's just say hesitation, because not only does this seem kind of like shady and whatnot, but now this will involve him being away from his family. This will involve him getting back into sort of that line of work. And also he's kind of put into a situation where he doesn't really have all the answers too. So it's a lot of like all right, I get the mission, but like, what else is this all involved in? Because part of the mission is them getting to this scientist and pretty much taking him out. But when they realize that like he's really not a threat, that starts to make the whole team start to reconsider what their actual job is. Like, what's the ultimate goal here? Who are they working for? And as the kids thinking more and more, this is a deeper and more dangerous conspiracy, and they're just trying to fight their way out to survive and stay alive. But ultimately, it's a battle morale. Say, hey, this guy doesn't actually look like a threat. And he's pleading his case where he's just trying to do something good. But the folks that they're working for are telling him, like, take him out. He is a threat. And now they have to make one of the most difficult decisions in either listening to that or putting a target on their own back. So now this puts a Sergeant James Harper in a situation of saying, I don't know who to trust. I was told to do this, but this is actually kind of happening. And with that, with him kind of going out on a limb and trying to make decisions for his own instead of listening to the person that gave him this mission, this now puts a target on his back. And now we start to see him essentially being portrayed. And now folks after him, and he's just doing whatever he can to try to stay alive in order to actually find the real answers and then ultimately expose the true intentions of everything that's happening right now. He's an elite soldier, so he definitely has the tools of survival, but may this be too much for him is the question. So with that being said, like I said, the whole bizarre situation of him being terminated, losing his pension, given this opportunity to make money to ultimately support and almost get his family back being stable, but ultimately involves him being away from the family. I mean, there's sacrifices. There's a lot of things to consider with everything that's going on. And then not to mention that now he's stuck into a web of lies and deceit, trying to figure it all out all on his own. So a lot of different things happening here. Now, I will say that this stunts were good, as I should already have mentioned. Stunts were good. And I thought that the stakes got higher and higher as we got deeper and deeper into the film. Ultimately getting to the final act, which I thought the final act was super good. And I think it's really important for these type of films to really bring things home in a very strong and convincing way. We all want to see how the film is all going to resolve. The final act, I thought everything really started to like escalate and got better and better and better. I'm not ultimately a fan of the complete ending, but the action was definitely solid. The action, the plot developments, the little twists and stuff that's kind of happening, I thought they all really came together pretty well. There's a little bit of brutality in this. Florian had something to do with one of them. And I thought that was like really kind of like jaw-dropping. I was not expecting the film to kind of get to such a more of a brutal tone at times. With that being said, I thought the cinematography was really solid, especially with the gunfights. And I really loved how they had these tracking, panning shots that just really just elevated the tension and emotion along with the action. So I thought that was really good. Another thing I thought too was like, with this plot, it's really not something, as I said, it's not reinventing the wheel. So it's not something you really are something being new to you and whatnot, but I thought that Chris Pine's performance really gave this a really refreshing feel. So like a plot that you're familiar with, but with a actor who's just able to like bring a new take to it, a new side, a new set of emotion. And by that, because like his like demeanor, he was very monotone, almost cold at times, this weird little whispering voice that he had. And then he was such an elitist in so many different things in terms of the survival and this a lot of different things I want to give away, but like just him bringing his character to life really helped give this sort of plot, sort of a story that you've seen many times over, just a different feel. And again, I think that him and Chris and Ben, they work really good together. And I think like when you give them the keys to success here, that they really knew what to do with it. They took the ball and ran with it. And I think that that's another part into making a story that you're familiar with like really excel, and Ben's character as Mike, like I said, this solid, flat out solid. And again, I just can't stress enough. I think this is a sneaky good film. I think a film that a lot of people may overlook, a lot of film that people didn't realize came out. But when you do check it out, I think you're gonna be like, wow, that was impressive. I really wasn't expecting that. And hopefully you do go out the way to check it out, because I think it is worth a watch. So, you know, overall being a good, solid popcorn action thriller with really good acting. I can't stress enough, this is Chris Pine at his best. Ben is amazing. The two of them really work together. Good choreography in terms of the gunfights, in terms of some of the hand-to-hand combat. Very believable and practical, shall I say. Even if there are effects, I mean, it still feels very solid enough to say practical. Nothing was over the top. It's almost like, you know, how it's almost how things used to be before CGI and all the special effects start to get way out of hand, you know. And there is a little bit of plot holes that, you know, it's sort of hard to kind of overlook. You know, there's a particular element to the end of the film I wasn't a fan of. I mean, it was hinted at it earlier in the film, but there's definitely parts of it I kind of scratch my head like, I don't know about that one, you know. But overall, it's a solid presentation. I thought it was good, so I suggest to check it out. With that being said, check out The Contractor in theaters, on demand, and digital, April 1st. And when you do check it out, jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts about it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.